In this video, we're going to cover Portswiggers Expert Lab 2FA bypass using a brute force attack, and we'll do it using a bash script, so we can invoke cURL and do multiple requests at the same time rather than synchronously, which is how the solution outlines it. So to start, we'll just copy our credentials and we'll reload our window. Put a Portswigger and we'll then notes. So I had something. Let's open cover it. So we got our credentials there, and we'll kick off our lab by accessing the lab. And we'll send this to BURP suite. We want to log in. I'm going to turn intercept on. I also like to see responses, so I'm going to also intercept responses for requests that were intercepted, which should be all of them. So let's do that. All right, we're in the login page. It's returning a form, and I don't want to intercept CSS responses, so I'll just forward those along. So here we put in our credentials, Carlos Montoya, and we'll try to log in. And you can see that CSRF is being applied. So we also need to include that. I'm going to send that to the repeater. So for reference, I send that on. Now, because the login was successful, we actually get redirected, and we're getting a session, a new cookie as a session being set. So this is most likely relates to the form that we're going to receive back here, where we have to enter in our 4-digit security code, and there's actually a CSRF value attached to the form. So it probably related to that cookie that we received. So if I enter in a value here, we can then see here's a CSRF value and our MFA code, which ties to the session cookie. So essentially every time the form is generated, this new CSRF is being created that ties to the session. So in order for us to brute force this, we need to essentially do the whole, we need to capture the form, get the CSRF token, and then submit it. What also makes this box a little interesting is that if you screw up your MFA code, it then logs you out and you have to log in again. So essentially you need to log in before every request. So here we said incorrect security code. If I do it again, it's going to log me out. And now we're back to the login page. So what we want to do is essentially we have to script something, put something together to get the login page, and then submit the 2FA code. So to get the login page, actually we're going to want to just capture what this is. Set that so we have it for reference. Get the login page. We're going to want to curl our target. Let's be explicit. Target.login. And we're going to want to write to a cookie file. We'll call it cookie.file. And this should get us a form, which it does. And ultimately, we need this value, the CSRF value. So we're going to grep for that. See if we do CSRF, it should provide us that value, that line. So we're going to want to use a Perl regex to be able to essentially do a look back where we want to find the value CSRF, closing quotation space value equals opening quotations, and then everything but the closing quotation is what we want to capture. And so here you can see it in red, it's selected. It's also selected the whole line, which we don't necessarily want. So we're going to tell grep just the output, please. There, so we got that. We're going to then pipe this to xargs, which we're going to use I, and we're going to say CSRF login underscore underscore is our replacement value, and we want to do a cURL dot silent cURL because I don't want the progress post request to our target dash login. We're going to want to read from the cookie file, and we'll write to the cookie file because do we need to write? We don't need to write to the cookie file, I don't think. No, we just need to read from the cookie file. We're going to set some headers, content, type, application, www.form-url encoded. And we're going to pass it the data being CSRF equals our X argument, which is underscore underscore CSRF login underscore underscore, and username equals Carlos and password equals Montoya. So this should submit. It should log us in successfully, and it gives us a blank response, which is what we expected because it's actually a redirect. So there's no body. It's just redirect. So if I put -I should get headers, which should say 302 found, and then the new session here, which is getting written to our cookie jar. Actually, so it's not getting written, it's getting read. So I do want to write to our cookie jar because that's probably needed to call the next endpoint. So we have that. I'm going to get rid of the headers for clarity. Next, what we want to do is we're going to start a separate request, and we're going to curl for login 2. We're going to read from our cookie file, and we're going to write to our cookie file. This is just a get, so this should be okay. This should give us a form. Let's see. Yep, please enter your 4-digit security code and our CRF value. So now we want to do the same thing that we did above, where we want to essentially grep CSRF, closing brackets, value, opening brackets, value equal, opening brackets, everything that is not the closing bracket. And hopefully I wrote that right. That should give us our next CSRF value. We're going to also do the same thing where we want to pipe it to xargs. This time we'll use a replacement value of CSRF 2FA underscore underscore. And we want to do a curl post request to our URL, to that target.login2. We want to read from a cookie file. I don't think we want to write, but maybe we do. I don't think we need to write. I think we can just read. We don't need to. And it could be famous last words. Content type is going to be equal to application xwww.form-url encoded. And I'm surprised that worked because it shouldn't be dot, it should be dash. And so that's funny that that worked up here. I'm going to need to fix that. So it's very forgiving. Dash data is going to be equal to CSRF equals underscore underscore CSRF underscore 2FA underscore underscore, and MFA code equals, we'll just hard code 000 for now. So let's see. This should give us a 200 and a saying that we incorrect code. We did. So I'm just going to fix this while it's on top of my mind. So that's easy. Maybe it just knows. I don't know. So if we do that, what I'll do to make our life a little bit easier is I want to write out a response code. Like I just want to write out a simple report because I don't care about the body. Response code equals, and the OTP code that we tried, new line. And then the actual output, we'll just send it to dev-null. So we should just get 200,000. We don't need to do that. I need to do that. Right. So now we want to be able to run this across multiple processes. So we need to make the cookie file unique to the code. and we also want to pass multiple codes. So we're going to also use xargs. But to make our life a little bit easier, I'm going to put this in a shell script, which is going to create some folders and files in the temp directory, so that way we can reference them, or that way the script can reference them when being called. And I think I might have already have it here. No. So I will vim brute force.shell brute force 2fa .shell. Before I do that, I want to copy what we created. And there's something here. Let's delete it because we're starting fresh. And I'm going to say bin dash poke paste it here, and essentially sure, I'll tap it. So we curl and we grep, pipe to grep, and we pipe to xargs, and we curl again using the target. And maybe I'll tap these ones to make them look nice. Then if that's successful, we then do another script, which is now curling to the target. And we pipe that result to grep. If that result then gets piped to xargs, and we then curl and write some data. So why don't I do that make it look a little nicer. Hopefully that works. Let's just make sure that script runs. Gmod, we'll change it, modify it so that it is executable, and we will call it. And it didn't work because I think I need to tell it what target is, because I don't think it gets passed. There, so that's what, okay, so that worked. So instead of specifying target, let's add it as an argument up here. Arguments, that's free. -1 target location, and we'll say -2 will be OTP code. So we want at least those two. Values. Now I'm trying to think, do we want more in terms of, we might have a second, what we do is we create a parent script for that will set up because we'll need some more arguments. As I'm thinking about, we need to replace this cookie file, and it needs to have a path, and it probably wants, the cookie file also needs to relate to the OTP code. We also want to output the results, because we will need, because when you log in, it sets a session variable, so you will need that session variable to be able to log in and complete this lab. So that has me thinking the third argument will be a cookie path, and the fourth argument will be log path, output path, let's say. So since I have target already, I'll just say target equals 1. And the rest of them, what do I want to do? I can just do it by number file. So we'll do cookie path 3 dash OTP is our cookie. 3 dash OTP is our cookie. 3 dash OTP is our cookie file, and there's some more cookie files here. $2. So these are now all variable, and it relates to the OTP, and then our output will also be in the output file. To log, let's say. Okay, so we have that. running. Let's just see. I need OTP, cookie path, and output path. So let's just make dir temp df cookies and df log, and then we'll run this with first argument is a target. Then I think it was OTP. Then it was cookies. Then it was a log. Alright, there's an error. Let's just see what that error was. Probably the temp file. And cannot access this. Where was temp created? So this is probably where there's an error. No such file maybe. So if I run it again, let's see what we get. And if I ls, there's no error that time. And we get it. And if I just see what was in there, we get our, should be, you can see incorrect security code. Okay. Well, I didn't see headers, so I think I got to actually modify. Yeah, I got to modify this to also pass headers, because that's going to be important when we need to know. Because on the successful 2FA, we're going to get a 302 redirect, which will then set a session cookie, so we also want to log that header. If I do that, let's just confirm that we have it all working. Yeah, now we have headers up here. So, okay. So I'm going to, now what we want to do is we also want to run this in the context of xargs. So now we want to like pass the whole, run this a couple times. So what we could use is printf, and we'll use a formatted string of 4 digits on every new line from 0 to 999. But for our purposes, we'll just do, let's do 8, 7, because we want 8 in total. So that should give us code. We're going to pass this to xargs using OTP as a replacement. And we want to invoke a script, which is brute force, passing it our target, our OTP, and some paths. I think this needs to be is string, just so that way that's clear. And then let's see what that does. Boom. So it's going to go synchronously. And probably I got to update the script to not use hardcode 000. So let's make sure that our output is actually taking the OTP code. And here we also do the rest of my file. Weird. Yeah, so now we're dynamically setting the code. So if we do this, now it's going to do it one after another. And so what we want to leverage doing this synchronously. So the good thing about xargs is you can specify like number of processes to run this in. So I can go up to here and do -p. Maybe I do it before the replacement. -p and I can specify like 100 processes. But for our purpose, I'm going to do 8 because I'm pretty sure this is on a container being run somewhere. And so you see how quickly that was. Boom, that was all 8 done. I'm assuming that this lab is probably on a container, and it probably doesn't have more than like 10 threads or 5 threads available to it. And it definitely isn't, they're not going to scale up if I send more requests. So if I do open up 1,000 processes, what's going to happen is I'm going to hammer this container. It's going to then need to keep any request that it's not handling in memory, which is going to slow it down even further. So I'm just going to set it to 8 for the purposes of this video, and just being mindful of the resources available in the container. So hopefully hopefully we get pretty quick return on our OTP codes. Now, am I okay to? I think I don't need to clear the folders. I think I can just keep them there because it will overwrite it. It'll just overwrite what's there already. So if I do that and I set this to 999, I think that will have us running, and I can start seeing the stuff coming through. But I probably want to output this somewhere, so that way I can, because it's going to be 10,000 lines on my terminal. So let's just output it to brute force.log. I wonder if this will work. Brute force.log. So this, and then I'm going to tail brute force.log, I think, to see what the response codes are. So let's try that. So in this window, and maybe if I follow it, yeah, so now I can start seeing the requests coming through. And what I'm interested, so you can see it coming through here, and I'll let that run. And while that's running, I'm going to go and do this in BURP. So how we would do this in BURP is we have to go to settings, and we have to add a rule, which essentially is going to run a macro. We want that macro to be go to get the login page, get the login page, post to the login page, and get the 2FA page. So they hit OK. I'm going to hit run a test on it to see, and we can see it's already slower. So my curl request is probably taking up some resources. So I'm thinking 8 was a good choice. You can see it was 200. Then after the post, it was a 302 redirect. It gets the session, and then it performs. It was able to get the form. And what's the response? It should be a form. Please enter your 4-digit security code. So I'll hit OK. I'll hit OK. I will hit OK. In the scope, I want to apply it to all URLs. And I think that's good. Now, I'll close the settings, and I will go to my repeater. And I'm going to send this to the intruder. And I'm going to clear it because we basically just want to brute force this code with a payload of numbers starting at 0, going to basically 10,000, stepping 1 at a time. It's going to be 4 digits and no fractions. We go to resource pool. We have to create a new one, and we can only have one because I'm pretty certain BURP shares a cookie jar, so one wouldn't be able to differentiate between the different ones. So in the other solution, we would have to do in the sense I can start the attack. Maybe if you upgrade it, you'd be have more resources, but even, I mean, this is sequentially going from 1 to 10,000. It's going to take a long time, and so even if it is time throttled, like the server is going to take at least a second. We got 4 requests here, right? One to get the login page, one to post, and then one to get the login page, the 2FA, and the one to post. And like best case, they're handled in like less than 300 milliseconds. So you're looking at least a second per request. So 10,000 seconds is a long time. Can't do the math on the top of my head, but so here we're going to start going through our payload. And I've done something wrong because our payload is not 1 digit. So it should be 4 digits. Min digits, min integers. So maybe payload set to 1. Examples, that's not the example I want. Min integer digits, 4. There we go. So I was too quick on the keys. There we go. So now we're doing BURP, and it's taken a little bit of time. Gone through 1, 2, and let's see over here how we're doing. We're already up to 700. So I'm gonna quit that. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna let's just grep that file first. Cat force.log, and we'll grep it to basically what do we want to? We want a regular expression, which is starting with 302, and we got a hit. Oh, right here. So 0732. So let's check that out. That was quick. So let's go to our log, and hopefully I did this right. There we 072, and let's cat this out. So this is the session we need to set. So I'm going to copy this header, and what do I want to do? I want to go to my, oops, I don't want to close that. Let me go to proxy. Let's make this big. So why don't we go to our proxy, and put that in. So username is Carlos Montoya. If I log in, this should give me a 302. Redirect, nope, because the form needs to be regenerated. So let's just regenerate that form. And I go username Carlos Montoya. I forward that. Oh, what's happening here? Okay, let's just do a hard refresh. I wonder if because I got BURP running. Okay, I'm gonna have to let's pause this because what's happening is I don't know. Discard it. And I gotta cancel this rule because it's probably screwing up my login. Montoya, I log in. All right, let's try to figure this out. What do we got going here? Why is it because I'm running? There we go. So that was an invalid username, but at least it wasn't. The CSRF was right. So Carlos Montoya. Let's see. There we go. So now we're logged in. I'm gonna enter a code here, and I don't know if I need to do it at this point, but I'm going to post this, and instead it's going to send me a 200 OK. Instead, I'm just going to paste the header from our log, and that as a response to the browser, and now the browser is trying to get my account, and that should work. Where it says, yeah, your username is Carlos, and so it's going to say I solved this lab. I'm pretty sure if I go through this. Solved. So that was lucky. We got it pretty early, which is it was like perfect on the video too. Cool. I had to, when I first did this, I had to wait till like the 2000s, which was annoying. Let's just see where it's at now. So it's at 1300, 1400, and so it still takes a long time. Which, I mean, if an OTP token is changing every 30 seconds, I don't know how feasible this would be. You need to really have a server that could handle, let's say, how many is that? And just for 4, like 6 digits is the standard. So like your server would, to do one at a time for 4 digits is essentially 10,000 requests, and you have to do it in 30 seconds, maybe 25 seconds, maybe 29, because you also have to log in if you hit it right at the end, and it takes about a second, just over a second per request, because you're logging in and then getting the CSRF value. So what is that? You could do 30, so let's say 25 requests in 30 seconds. And 10,000 divided by 25 is 4,000. So is that right? 20, yeah, because times 4 raised 1,000, maybe. Oh, now I gotta do math. 10,000 divided by 25 is, plug in the calculator. 10,000 divided by 25 is 400. Okay, so you got to do 400 requests a second, which is probably not. I mean, that's not outside of the realm of possibilities, but I'm sure Firewall would be like, what the heck? And then if you go up to 6 digits, I think that's 1 million requests. And so you probably have to do 40,000 in 30 seconds. So, I mean, for big websites, probably feasible, but it's also kind of questionable why this kind of flow. So hopefully Firewall catches it, but I guess the whole point of this lab is that it is feasible and it is possible. So that's, that's how I solved the Expert Lab with using some curl scripts. And you can play around with setting processes to higher or lower. Ultimately, this proceeds at a pretty standard rate. So even like I set this to 1,000, it didn't make much difference. There was still basically, the server can only process so many at a time. So somewhere they're getting queued up and memory is being set, and they're being added to memory. And I noticed a couple more 400s when I had the processes higher. So it's probably that requests that are getting dropped or whatnot. And yeah, over the course of this video, I guess it's been 5 minutes, let's say, we've done 2,000. So pretty slow generally, but that's how you would brute force a 2FA with having to log in every time and using curl. Thank you.